Hello, parents. Welcome back to another episode of Parenting Teens with Dr. Cam. I'm your host, Dr. Cam. If your teen's video game obsession is driving you mad, this episode is for you. Today, I'm talking with Michael Chang, CEO and founder at VGCD Academy and author of the international best-selling book, Video Games Demystified, the Trifecta of Creators, Athletes, and Ecosystem in a Thriving Industry. As a former marketing leader at Electronic Arts and RockYou, Michael has managed video games generating over $250 million. His company, VGCD Academy, teaches young people the science and business of video games. Michael is going to teach us how to leverage the love of gaming to inspire teens to become leaders, entrepreneurs, scientists, mathematicians, artists, and more. Welcome, Michael. I'm so happy to have you here.
Oh, super excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I know this is a hot topic because I can't even count the number of people I know that are worried about their teens' obsession with their video games. So I want to ask you, how did you get into video gaming and using it really to work with kids with and anyone?
Yeah. So for me personally, I got into video games by serendipity. I had worked in advertising for over 10 years and was just almost practically out of the blue and invited to be a founding marketing leader for a gaming startup. And this was 2009, 2010, and our first real game on Facebook did exceptionally well. It was making in excess of $2 million per day. And that's when we realized, we're like, wow, this is real. People really love this and they'll pay real money for it. So, but yeah, so I've been, sort of in the video game space for over 15 years and have always been on the marketing and the product side, and have always been really fascinated with just how a lot of people across all different ages, different demographics, so young people and people my age and older, who get super excited. You can see their faces light up when they talk about their favorite games. And of course, I also see the flip side of all things as well, which is when I talk to the parents, like, ooh, I don't know, I've got my teenager seems to be in his room all day, doesn't have any real friends, he's always on his computer, what do I do? And so really that, combination of the two, both my own experiences working in the industry, and two, talking to the parents who are working with their teens who are absolutely obsessed with games. Together, the two really became the genesis for my writing this book and launching this course.
That is so, it is. And I think that's one of the biggest questions I hear too, is like, what do I do? Like how I'm worried they're doing nothing else. Like that's all they want to do. So what can parents do, and how can we actually use this tool and their love of this game, which there's nothing we can do. Like, they love the games, right? So how can we actually turn this into something good?
Yeah, I think it's a couple of different things, really. More than anything else, parents really will be in a really good place, I've found, first and foremost, by being informed, by doing a little bit of the background homework. So for instance, like my one of the things that I think my book sort of focuses on is that we sort of start by helping young people answer about 10 different questions about themselves. So they get to take a closer look at themselves about what are their strengths, what are their values, what would they do in this situation versus another. And then ultimately, it's really to help young people to understand more about their personality and also their own real passions, right? So I think that, in this case, parents, it's almost like there's a lot of resources out there, and between my book and my course, of course, we kind of work with a lot of parents and teens to do exactly that, which is to understand there's different types of gamers. So it's almost like the more informed the parents are, the better they are to work with their young people and their teens and to understand why it is that they game, right? So there are teens who love very immersive games, and once they go periscope down and they play a game for hours and hours and hours, fully immersed, these tend to be the teens that are very, very into immersive storytelling journey in the process, and And so they tend to do really well should they get into the video game industry, working inside a studio to create experiences for other people. Versus the kids that are like very driven by, oh, I gotta win each and every match, and it's all about my pride, it's about my ego. Then those kids tend to do really well in competitive gaming or streaming. Versus people that were more like me, where I care about the outcome, I care about the results, but I didn't have a lot of ego. So, made sense for us to work for an external publisher or an agency or as a videographer, publicist, ultimately to create amazing games, but where, we're okay with our names not showing on the end credits, so things like that. So I found that, the more parents are educated and informed, the better they are to have these very almost like peer-to-peer kind of a relationship and conversations with their teens. And the more they're able to do that, the more it's more of a, oh, what can we do together? What can we do to help you, figure out what you want to do that makes the most sense for you? Because I think the more empathetic they are, the more they understand what the industry offers by ways of professional opportunities today versus how a lot of the skills and experiences that are developed in playing and concepting and planning and pitching games, how these directly transfer into entrepreneurship, other industries, and things like that. So the more conversations they can have with our teenagers today, the stronger those relationships and bonds that they have for moving forward, really.
One thing that's really hitting home with me too, Michael, and what you're saying is that a lot of parents see video games as the antithesis of learning. Like they see,
right,
in order to have a successful career. What
right.
You're saying is video games are actually a step towards, and a big step, and facilitate a really powerful career.
Yes.
Okay, so it's not the antithesis.
No.
So right? So tell us a little bit more about what are kids actually developing when they're playing games? What skills?
Yeah. So I if I may, I like to sort of answer that question in two parts. So I think when kids are playing games, when they're playing games, whether it's Call of Duty on a PC or if it's a mobile game like a new RPG, Genshin Impact. I have a 14-year-old at home, and she plays this RPG all day long. I don't see her become really immersed in her geometry classes, but she's reading all the different cheat sites about how she can up her stats. And so I know that the passion, that desire, and the competitiveness are all real. They just have to be channeled the right way. So I think, when the kids are playing these games, that naturally they're recognizing these different, I call it game design mechanics. So for example, how is it that a game like Genshin Impact is able to teach young people to very quickly, it's a mobile game, within 3 minutes of them downloading the game, to feel, not only understand the story, to feel at one together with the player persona, but to feel motivated to go through the process of making all these quests and all these different adventures and leveling up and caring about the rewards. So these are very fundamental steps in game design, which I think, Dr. Cam, you can probably recognize, as I do as a parent, that we know when we're being when we're being marketed to via gamification by the airline mileage companies, the credit card companies, even like the you call it like even like the various different like call it the even like the travel agencies, for instance. The more you buy, the miles you get, the more miles you get, the more you.
And grocery stores. I mean, everyone has gamification. I don't think anybody thinks about it that way, but it is. That's exactly what it is.
That's right, and it's beautiful, right? So that's just on the surface. And then I think that the key thing that, and I felt, as an industry insider, the reason why I care very much about it is because I see such strong emotions. So what I try to do, especially in my coursework, is I want to teach young people the psychology and the business of games, because I think ultimately that's where the moment you get a teen to start thinking like a professional, like an insider, to understand, oh, it is by way of them letting us do this types of personalization and changing the outfit on my character, on my avatar, that they're really bringing me into that experience. Not to mention things like the daily login streaks and how that's encouraging this to become a lifestyle kind of application. Really, what I try to teach young people to do is to stop, don't just stop at being a gamer or consumer. Take it one step further and start thinking about how is it that the industry insiders design this experience between the gamification, specifically the business behind it, which is how do you go about concepting something like this? How do they decide who's my target persona? Is it kids 10 and under? Is it kids that love Disney? Is it kids that are 16 and over love first person shooters? So how do they go about concepting and defining the target audience and features so that they understand, they start to put themselves in the shoes of a designer and producer? And then how do they go about creating an actual business plan around that? So, and like I just went through this with a bunch of my teens, so I know that it takes a decent amount of hand holding for them to understand, whoa, how do I go from playing Call of Duty to now come up with a financial forecast for if I want to create a new season around that? How many people are there? What's the addressable market? What if I want to expand it? What is profit and loss based on the development cycle? So like these are heavy topics, but what I've found is with a lot of the teens that are really motivated and driven and passionate, they can be taught even at a relatively young age, 13, 16, 19-year-olds, how to not only come up with a concept, come up with a business plan that's very 21st century accounting and finance, financial forecasting, all that good stuff, together with that ability to pitch their idea and concepts with confidence. Like, I mean, Dr. Ham, you gotta admit that's pretty hot stuff for them to be able to take those skills, to feel something so passionate about it, create a logical, well thought out business plan, and to pitch it the same way that they would on a Kickstarter, on a Dragon's Den, on a Shark Tank. I mean, that's pretty amazing. So really, those are the areas that I feel most excited about, is teaching our teens, our young people, how to think so much further than just playing the games and being a consumer, and turning it from a passive to an active process.
Yeah.
So they understand, like, okay, this is how this was created. This is why it's so engaging. This is why you come back every single day. And this is why it feeds you in terms of the tangible and the intangible rewards and make it so engaging. And ultimately, this is how they make their money over time. So
right. and a good amount, right? So
exactly.
how can parents help make that transition from consumer to creator? And I think that's the kind of the leap. And the consumer is something where that's an easy, because they feed off of it's psychology. It feeds off that addictive behavior that need to keep compounding in gamification, which I really wish schools would start implementing more of, because I think they would be a lot more successful. And I think what you're seeing is, I talk to kids in school and they do not understand how anything they're learning applies to life.
Right.
And I even have trouble explaining to my daughter how things apply to life. But when you come from the perspective of here's what you love, now let's put on top of it all of these skills, they're already coming from it, from this clarity and this passion, which is what motivates them. So how do we turn it from passively consuming to actively creating?
Yeah. I think first and foremost, the parents, if parents really, really want to help their teens, they really have to start by being informed, by understanding what these experiences are all about. I mean, the truth is, last year, $180 billion, over 3 billion gamers. I mean, this stuff is for real.
Yeah,
right?
It's not going anywhere.
Tremendous momentum, and it's only going up. And the reality is that a lot of parents, and I'm as guilty as anyone, that the other day I found myself, basically tweaking screen time settings so my daughter doesn't play as much games as she used to. And I do this stuff for a living, so it's a little ironic, right? But at the same time, I think what parents can really do in a situation like this is first and foremost start by getting informed. So what we try to do, and I can see some of my peers, on the esports side as well as on the more call it the more forward thinking type of educational institutions are trying to do is we're really trying to connect the dots between entertainment, via games, together with education, and ideally, if we do our jobs right, to really connect that dot one step further with future employability as well as professional opportunities, moving forward in the 21st century. So I think, being able to connect, in this case, entertainment together with education, with vocation, that's really what's going to make the difference. And I think that, what parents can do more than anything, I really do encourage parents who are listening to this podcast to please take a look at my book. I do want to offer up call a couple of the different previews, and so they can take a look, because even if every parent I know who's parenting teens is exceptionally busy, and nobody has an abundance of time to go and read, and I get that, but I think ultimately if all they did was understand and hear and read about these different examples of people who went from pure play gamers, I know a lot of people who have gone and turned the gaming passions into something absolutely amazing. So an example that I always like to give is this young woman, Christine Uchram, who's a CEO of a company called Everyday, and down in LA. And she grew up playing lots and lots of Nintendo games, where she was like, well, how does it that they designed Mario and Luigi, and then it bumps the mushroom, and it feels you feel delighted because you see these gold coins pop out of nowhere. And so what she's done is she's gone on and founded a company to absolutely go and create these gamified SAT and ACT prep.
Nice.
So as opposed to the days when people like you and I would have to sit down for 3-4 hours at a time, it feels like such a huge chore to go through complete tests.
Yeah.
Let students do that basically while they're on the go, on the train, at the bus stop. And then not only that, there's constant rewards. So it very much feels like a game. But at the same time, these young people are getting amazing test scores because they're having fun. They're doing it constantly. So I love that. That's an application. And then another application that I absolutely adore is a friend of mine named Amir Bozozade. He's the CEO of a company called Virtually in Lisbon, Portugal. So when he's the son of Persian immigrants to Canada. And throughout his teens, he played tons and tons of military strategy games. So his parents kept saying to himself, they're like, Amir, you're not going to have a girlfriend. What are you going to do with yourself? You're going to be married to your PC for the rest of your life. So fast forward 15 years, he's turned that love for optimizing military strategy and database driven games. Now he creates virtual reality brain training games, and not just any brain training games that helps typically senior citizens combat the cognitive degeneration due to diseases like dementia, Parkinson's, and Alzheimer's.
Oh my gosh.
And he's absolutely amazing because he just signed up the AARP, he's got Hewlett Packard. And so what I really do encourage the parents to do is to be informed and to be open-minded, because those are just two examples. That's Everyday, that's Virtually. I know hundreds of others that are doing amazing things where they're either using gamification directly to solve a real world problem, or they're actually using it to go and create some kind of benefit and positive in the world, either to make lifestyle changes, to target young people, to target senior citizens, a variety of different ways to apply games and game design into something absolutely amazing and world changing.
Wow.
Yeah.
And just the way you're talking about it too, it's like eventually gaming is going to, be immersed across every aspect of our life. Absolutely. So the opportunities are endless at this point of what they can do. And so getting curious and helping your kids get curious about what it is they love about the gaming. Like, rather than stop playing, it's why are you loving it so much? What is so cool about this? And just really getting into that and turning that into that creator mentality is phenomenal. That's right. I love that so much. So how can parents find you and your book and your course?
So the the best way, and the place I like to send people to. So my website is VGCD Academy. And I think specifically just for your audience, Dr. Cam, the first 25 parents who register, with their name and email address, what have you, I'm happy to go and give them a PDF version of my book. And so literally, like I said, every parent is busy, so nobody has time to read thousands and thousands of words of copy. I get it. So if all they did was download that, open a PDF, and read the intro and read the conclusion, I think if that doesn't get them sufficiently sort of informed and inspired, to want to learn more and to do more to help their teens, guide them through that process and journey, I think that's probably the best place to start for them. So yeah, I would say definitely my website would be the best place. And I of course, if they want to find out more information, definitely to reach out to me. It's support at VGCD.academy. I can do this all day because I'm so excited and passionate.
I love that. Yeah.
So it's like after a little while, like my 14-year-old thinks that I'm the ultimate broken phonograph, broken record. But I love it, and just went through this beta course, where I invited a dozen young people, friends, a family, and what have you, to go through this beta course with me. And what I found is that the kids who are truly passionate and truly motivated and excited and inspired, they really do put in the time, and they put together these business plans and pitches that absolutely blow me away. I mean, some of the stuff they created blow away some of the stuff I've seen at places like EA and RockYou, and that's crazy. Teenagers.
Yeah. Well, they're so immersed in it in their brain. Like, this is how they're born, right? Like they've been doing this for so long. For us, it's kind of like this new, video games for me, I'm terrible, but it's like it's like this, just simple. It's so easy to them. But I think also there's so many different paths you can take that, like you were saying, it's finding that path that inspires your child, and what about it that really, pulls to them, and finding that passion. Because I hear from parents all the time, oh, my child's just so unmotivated. Oh, I bet when it comes to the games, they're highly motivated.
Exactly.
Right? So it's not lack of motivation, it's lack of interest.
That's
right.
So
find what interests them and use that. That is amazing. Love it so much.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'll have all your information in the show notes so people can reach out. So before we go, any parting words of wisdom for parents with teenagers, especially ones obsessed with video games?
Yeah, I think the parting words of wisdom that I would offer to the parents, first and foremost, that's the most important, is that I really do believe that, because I know so many parents that are very driven, high achievers themselves, very accomplished, very highly educated and successful, who really want to see the best, for their kids, and do even better than they did themselves. I think ultimately, if they were to keep an open mind and to really start from a place of humility, and to actually go and learn more about, how exactly are games being used for philanthropy and charity? How exactly are games used to help perhaps combat things like dementias and PTSD and past trauma, or how are games actually contributing to society on a grassroots community level, that and we're trying to do a better job of putting forth these kinds of information. I think, because I really do feel that the moment that parents are able to sort of clear off sort of any preconceived notions, and to really start by learning more about how exactly can this incredible industry that's doing exceptionally well, not only the types of opportunities that are forth directly inside the industry, but how these skills from concepting, planning, and pitching games, how they transfer to amazing entrepreneurship, to future careers in tech and defense and healthcare and education. I just think that that the opportunities are absolutely endless, and the more that parents can start from a place of being informed and educated, the much better they are, and the much greater the relationship becomes with their teens. And I think it's a beautiful two-way street.
It is. And I think one of the best ways to start becoming educated too is to talk to your teens and have
That's
them
right.
educate you about what they love about their game and
Exactly.
gaming. And that's a great way to connect too. I
Yeah.
love it.
Yes.
Michael, thank you so much. I'm so grateful you could join us today.
Oh, so thank you. So thankful you have me here. So, really, really appreciate it. So thank you.
Absolutely. And thank you, parents, for taking time out of your busy day to spend with us. If you want to learn more about how to help your teens thrive, you can grab my top 10 parenting tips at askdrcam.com/parenting tips. And if you enjoyed this episode and the helpful strategies Michael shared with us, please take a quick moment to rate and review. This helps other parents like you find this show. I encourage you to share it with a friend as well. Until next time, have a peaceful, positive, calm day.